quick intro of our panelists, and I'll ask them to talk about themselves also in a bit. We have Vijay Kumar Viru, who hails from Bihar. He has been working with Pradhan since 2008. Right now, he's working in Khuti, in a district in Jharkhand. For the past 8 years, he and his team have been, working with introducing new agricultural practices and technology to the community there. Also introducing them to new practices such as cultivation of marigold and watermelon. We have Akash Padve. He works in Dantewada, Chhattisgarh, promoting organic farming and connecting indigenous produce to the people. He was a PMRD fellow. Akash can speak later on. We also have Archana Stalin, a woman entrepreneur in Tamil Nadu. Working, she's also a co-founder of My Harvest. Now, just very quickly, agriculture in India, we all know its importance. I don't want to, it's hard to sort of oversell the importance of agriculture. Much of our workforce is clearly dependent upon it. Food clearly is, extremely important in terms of both livelihoods of our people, and also, the urban population is also heavily affected by fluctuations in agricultural production with inflation and food shortages. And we have, we have seen the persistence of agrarian distress for a very long time now, for a lot of years, and it has been highlighted by instances of farmer suicides in different parts of the country. It has been highlighted by farm protests in last few years, demanding farm loan waivers and higher MSPs. Now, having said all that, clearly the COVID-19 and the lockdown that followed have made situations worse for the farmers of a country. So a community that is very important was suffering so much already and has been suffering for almost 2 decades now, was pushed further to the brink, और आइसोलेट हो गए और प्रॉब्लम्स हो गई. खास करके रबी का सीजन था. इट वाज अ सीजन वेयर people were just finishing with their harvest. They were trying to sell it, or the lockdown hit them at that time. Now we'll straight away go to our panelists, and let me start by asking people to introduce themselves a bit and tell us about them. So can we start with Vijay? Vijay, can you talk to us about you? आप थोड़ा बता सकते हैं आपके बारे में, आपके काम के बारे में?
So मैं विजय हूँ. एक खूंटी जिला है झारखंड में, मैं वहाँ से हूँ. और ये खूंटी जिला भगवान बिरसा मुंडा की धरती है. भगवान बिरसा मुंडा काफ़ी फेमस हुए हैं आज़ादी की लड़ाई के समय में. और ये खूंटी जिला विशेष रूप से मुंडा आदिवासियों का क्षेत्र है. यहाँ पे ज़्यादातर आबादी है जो आदिवासी हैं उनकी है, और वो मुंडा हैं. और यहाँ के लोग जल जंगल जमीन को लेकर के काफ़ी सेंसिटिव हैं, काफ़ी प्यार करते हैं उसको, जल जंगल जमीन को. मैं यहाँ प्रधान एक CSO है, उसके साथ में काम कर रहा हूँ. और हमारे साथ में लगभग परिवार जुड़े हुए हैं, और उसमें से लगभग 17,000 परिवार के साथ में हम आजीविका का काम कर रहे हैं. हम इस एरिया में खेतीबाड़ी को लेकर के, लाह को लेकर के, और भी जो आजीविका से जुड़ी हुई चीज़ें हैं, बकरी पालन, मुर्गी पालन, इन सारे चीज़ों के साथ में जुड़े हुए हैं. हम लोगों ने यहाँ नए क्रॉप के रूप में गेंदा फूल की खेती, तरबूज की खेती, इसको काफ़ी बड़े स्तर में लोगों को सिखाया है, और लगातार उनके किसानों के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. हम बीज से लेकर के बाजार तक किसानों की मदद करते हैं. जी.
Thank you, Vijay. Akash, can you tell us something about yourself? Is Akash not here? Okay, Archana, can you go ahead and tell us something about your work?
Uh, Hi, good evening to everybody. Happy meeting you. Happy meeting Vikash and Akash, Ishan and especially hi. So I've been operating from the rural parts of Tamil Nadu, and I started farming 5 years ago. So more like very young player in the game, but we've been doing only organic and natural farming. So I got my corporate job 5 years ago, and me and my husband are full time running this venture called My Harvest. Our focus, like anybody else, is to improve the farmer's life and bring a sustainable lifestyle back to the urban people. So I'm helping being a platform for farmers to go organic and also get a better price for their products. And on the other hand, people in the city can just subscribe to us and have like a family farmer who grows their vegetables. So we want the people to know the source of their food and trust what they're eating. So we're working on the space of safe food, and we have about close to 1,000 families that are right now subscribers, and working with a lot of farmers in 7-8 districts in Tamil Nadu.
Sorry, you are based in which district? I missed it.
I operate from Tiruvallur district, which is about 60-70 kilometers from Chennai. So the primary consumers for us are in Chennai, but farmers are in Tiruvallur, Dindivanam, Madurai, Dittikal, Nilgiris, and Hosur.
Okay, so let's start the discussion. I'm not sure if a third panelist is here with us.
Hi, Ishan, I'm there.
Yeah, Akash, yeah, please go ahead.
I think I was on mute when I started speaking.
Yeah, go ahead.
You couldn't hear, right? So, yeah, I've been working in Dantewada district of Chhattisgarh for past 8 years now. I happened to come down to here as a part of a fellowship called Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship, started by Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. And during that fellowship, along with the local district administration, we started working with the tribal farmers in Dantewada. Dantewada, though is known for various other reasons and always and often in the news, has
Akash, I think you have
promote and conserve this kind of agrobiodiversity. And also, most of the farmers weren't using any intensive chemical farming practices. And rather than the thought process of mainstream system is to consider that as a weakness, we thought that this is a great strength that we should build upon, and that is what we have been trying to do since last 8 years. As a part of that effort, the farmers have come together in a form of a collective called Bhumgadi. And with the help of Bhumgadi, what we are trying to do is promote and conserve traditional crops and seeds and organic farming, and then connect all of that with the market and create an entire ecosystem which will strengthen the livelihood of these communities. So that is something we are trying to do.
Okay, great. Thank you all. So let us start the discussion, and the first question. Let's get the general a question first. So one interesting thing is, of course, the different context.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, Akash. Okay, so what comes out of the introduction is the different context from which three of our panelists belong. India's agrarian economy is a huge economy in terms of its sheer size and differences in agroclimatic regions, zones. So context matters a lot, right? So it's very good that we have people from different regions, different zones representing different challenges. So the first question, my first question to all the panelists, and we'll start with Vijay, is it is a very difficult time. It is a very confusing time. All of a sudden, within at a notice of 4 hours, all of a sudden we lockdown was announced. किसी को पता नहीं था, अचानक से एक lockdown announce किया गया, और उसके बाद शुरू में काफी confusion रही. क्या होगा लॉकडाउन में, कौन सी चीजें अलाउड हैं, कौन सी चीजें अलाउड नहीं है. There were a lot of corrections from the MHA. Later on, a lot of regulations kept coming. So my first question to you is, what is it like in the context that you are working? What do you think emerged as the major challenge when the COVID-19 related lockdown was announced? Yeah, Vijay, can we start with you?
Yeah. So जब लॉकडाउन स्टार्ट हुआ उस समय लोगों के बीच में ये कन्फ्यूजन था कि ये कितना दिन चलेगा और इस तरह का जल्द खत्म हो जाएगा ये लॉकडाउन और फिर से चीजें नॉर्मलाइज हो जाएगी, इस तरह का सोच के साथ में लोग आगे बढ़ रहे थे और किसान भी उसी सोच के साथ में आगे बढ़ रहे थे. उस समय अगर मैं अपने कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बोलूंगा तो यहाँ वेजिटेबल लगे हुए थे. तरबूज बेसिकली यहाँ काफी मात्रा में होते हैं तो वो लगे हुए थे. बट जैसे जैसे लॉकडाउन बढ़ता रहा और ये तरबूज तैयार होते रहे खेतों में तो वाटरमेलन को सेल करने के लिए उनको काफी दिक्कतें आने लगी. सो काफी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का दिक्कत आ रही है, गाड़ियां नहीं आ रही है, वो खुद भी नहीं जा पा रहे हैं. उसके बाद में जब सेकेंड लॉकडाउन शुरू हुआ तो उस समय कुछ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए सरकार ने प्रोविजन किया कि वेजिटेबल लाने ले जाने के लिए दिक्कत नहीं होगी, फार्मर का भी जो ये प्रोड्यूस है उसको बेचने के लिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी, तो आप पास लेकर के इस तरह से जा सकते हैं और मार्केट में ये बेच सकते हैं. बट जब जो बल्क मार्केटिंग थी उसमें काफी परेशानी होने लगी क्योंकि वो मार्केट दूर का था, वहाँ से जो व्यापारी आ रहे थे उनको अलग से पास चाहिए होता था. इस तरह से बहुत सारा प्रोड्यूस जो है खेतों में ही खराब होने की स्थिति में रही. दूसरा ये है कि जो हमारा कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बहुत सारी निर्भरता NTFP के ऊपर में है तो उनका जो प्रोड्यूस है वो चूंकि बाजार ला करके बेचते हैं, माने मात्रा थोड़ी कम होती है, होलसेल मार्केट में उनको नहीं भेज सकते, वो एग्रीगेटर उनको कलेक्ट करते हैं बाजार में. तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बिल्कुल बंद हो गया. तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बंद हो जाने के कारण में वो अपना सामान बाजार तक नहीं ला पाए. जो छोटे किसान थे, गरीब आदिवासी लोग जो ये थे, अपने सामान को बाजार तक नहीं ला पा रहे थे और नहीं ला पाए, जिसके कारण में यहाँ फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस में कटहल है, इमली है, ये सब को बेच पाने में उनको काफी दिक्कतें हुई, जिसके कारण में उनके पास में अभी के समय में पैसे की थोड़ी दिक्कत हो गई है. ये उसके बाद में यहाँ मैंने जो उनके पास में पैसे थे वो राशन ये सब लेने के लिए खर्च हुआ और भी पैसों की आवश्यकता को यहाँ SHG के साथ सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप काफी सारे बने हुए हैं, उनके साथ में हम काम करते हैं. तो उनके पास जो वो सब सेविंग्स थी उसको निकाल करके उन्होंने खर्च किया. तो अभी के समय में SHG के पास भी सेविंग कम हो गई है और उसको ही खर्च ये कर रहे हैं. तीसरा ये है कि अपना पैसा भी उनका ये खर्च हो गया. बहुत सारे परिवार ऐसे हैं जो लकड़ी बेच करके या इस तरह का ये में लगे हुए थे, क्योंकि बाजार लग नहीं रहे थे. तो और बाजार जो लग भी रहे थे वो 3 घंटे 4 घंटे के लिए, तो एक सुदूर गांव से माने कुछ व्यवस्था करके आना और फिर 4 घंटे के लिए फिर वापस जाना. अगर वो 4 घंटे में अपना प्रोड्यूस को नहीं बेच पाए तो फिर से उसी प्रोड्यूस को घर वापस ले जाना और उसके लिए भी भाड़ा देना. तो ये एक बड़ा चैलेंज रहा इस दौरान में, लॉकडाउन के दौरान में किसानों के लिए, छोटे किसानों के लिए विशेष रूप से.
विजय जी, एक क्लैरिफिकेशन और कर दीजिए. आप जहाँ हैं खूंटी में जहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, तो एक तो आपने कहा कि फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस वाटरमेलन, और क्या वहाँ उपजाते हैं इस सीजन में, और कुछ फसलें थी इसके अलावा?
हाँ, मैंने क्रीपर्स थी, माने ये वेजिटेबल ही ज्यादा ये होता है चूंकि ये रेनफेड एरिया है. तो जिनके पास भी इरिगेशन का ये सुविधा है वो इस सीजन में वेजिटेबल को ज्यादा उगाते हैं और एक्चुअली इस समय कैश क्रॉप के रूप में उसको लेते हैं. तो वेजिटेबल एक बड़ा एरिया है वाटरमेलन का. यहाँ लगभग 3000 एकड़ में जैसा में ये वाटरमेलन उगाया जाता है. नियर बाई मार्केट रांची है तो वहाँ सेल होता है. बट इस बार कोरोना को लेकर के जो मेन मंडी है उस तरफ ही रेड जोन रहा और वहां से भी व्यापारी नहीं आ पाए, तो ये एक समस्या हुई।
Okay, so you know what I think Vijay is trying to, the basic problem that I think he's highlighting is the difficulty in transporting goods from the farm to the mandis, and if that is not done, of course you know, farmers will not get the returns of their you know they will not get any returns on the costs that they have incurred for a very long time, for you know 3 months, 5 months. I think that is the main problem that is emerging from Kuti. Archana, can we you know, in your context, were the challenges different? Were it the same? What do you think? What happened in your context?
Yeah, more or less it's similar challenges, but right from getting people there, the biggest challenge I would say was the logistics. So it was we know that a lot of farmers had the produce ready, because the nature was just going as it is. It was only a pause for us people here. So the work at the farm was going on as normal, but then everything got stuck there in the farm, and it was a lot of regulations that kept changing. So there was a new regulation almost every 2 days. So we went running posts from this office to that office asking for permissions, and there was a lot of challenges in the local, for us, at least for me, the farmers that work with us, we always were promoting local production and local consumption. So we used to always, we don't stock all our vegetables. So it used to come fresh in that morning, and same day we used to deliver it to our families as well. So we didn't have the problem of stock, any storage issues, but then the problem was bringing it fresh from the farm on that particular day. So what is okay when one district was not okay in another district. And we also had cases where there was a farmer who just, the police were harassing at a lot of places. So I was literally doing the firefighting between talking to the police, handling calls, which is not what we usually do, right? So it was a new, different encounter. And I literally saw a lot of other farmers, because I work only with those who are doing natural farming. There are quite a larger number of farmers who do flowers, who were growing groundnuts, who were almost on the verge of harvesting paddy. So for them and all, it was, they didn't know what to do. So the everyday harvest of flowers was just stuck at the farm. They just had no other choice but to leave the flowers dried. So all their money that they put in was now not able to put in for the harvest, or I don't know, many of them are just doomed. So only if they harvest and sell this time can they sow the next season. So the next season is also getting affected. So I fear that there will be a bigger setback for the farmers. And after the markets got stuck, so for us it was like it comes and we deliver, but for those who sent to the market here in Coimbatore, the COVID-19 struck the market and the market was shut down. So then it was even more nightmarish. So we were again more harassed on the road saying, "Why are you taking care?" So I find that the demand was huge. The good thing that for all of us farmers, we always wanted people to ask for organic stuff. People wanted it to be coming to their doorstep. But now the demand was there, but then the supply was actually a big challenge. So I was at least the only good thing that we were happy about was our farmers were able to actually work on some value-added products or keep themselves active, because we were still operating. So the business, social business for the farmers who were actually with My Harvest are still doing well, but there are so many multiples of farmers that we are still unable to help with. It is like logistics needs to be solved. The buses need to fly. So I have a lot of fruits that are getting damaged.
Yeah. So you are saying one was the problem in harvesting and taking it to the mandis for the sale, and
Yeah.
second thing that you are saying is this will not only affect earnings for this season, but also severely affect.
Definitely, for them, the money that they make now is what we can actually invest for the next season. And getting seeds, getting all that more, even though it was local, still it was not all possible for them. So the money that they have to, or the labor that they have to, people were now completely bogged down. So the fear of whether this will, when is going to get resolved, so they were all disconnected to the end market, right? The market linkage was completely broken. So we found that the farmers, so more people were now talking about reducing the food miles. So So most of whatever we were claiming all along are now becoming a practical reality. So I find for the farmers it was a struggle coping up with the situation because they never imagined it to happen. So papaya farmers, at least for me, they are all having a big bumper harvest, but because there are no buses to send the papayas to Chennai, they are just some of them are getting rotten at the farm level. Locally, they are able to, but then they won't get a decent price, right? The harvest is more, and locally they can only sell little. The actual market is where they usually were selling it. And same with the musk melons, watermelons. They were all taken at a very, very cheaper price. The juice shops were shut. So everywhere the demand was there. People wanted it, but then it was all the supply chain gap wasn't actually working.
Okay, so yeah, so okay, Akash, can we hear from you? You are working in a completely different context from Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
Geographically remote tribal areas. What were the challenges that you saw people facing there?
Right. So that's what I wanted to point out is when we imagine farmer, we have somebody, who has a tractor or bullock cart full of produce, and him, or generally in our imagination, it is him, but, going to the mandis and trying to sell their produce. But that is how it hardly works here where I'm working. Here, the actual, center of economy, local economy is local hard bazaars, where small farmers, women, get their produce in very small quantities and then they sell in local hard bazaars. Or there are traders who will procure their things. All the local hard bazaars, of course, were stopped. And then most of the people didn't have anything, to any place to sell their produce. Mandis are almost dysfunctional in our areas anyways. And because like in the villages, most of the farmers do not have their own vehicles as well. Like they would have either cycle or they would walk or they would try to use whatever transport that works on the day of local hard bazaar. All of those facilities, because they went there, they didn't have any means to take their produce out of their village. Uh, what happens in case of very small farmers in tribal areas like us is their every week's expenses are supported by small quantity of produce that they take out from their homes and then sell in the local hard bazaar, and then do all the expenses that they want to. They don't have much saving. Their saving is in the form of NTFP that they store in their house, or their paddy or other produce that they store in the house. So they don't have much money. So all of that was not possible. In especially what we observed is in the villages, if there are any widows or single women, old women, who don't have any other kind of support, they would even then try to use public transport that is available, take whatever small produce that they have collected from the forest, take it to the local hard bazaar and then sell it off. They face the greatest difficulty, that is what we have observed in the villages here. In terms of forest produce, Vijayji spoke about it. It was affected, but thankfully, forest department in our region tried to procure forest produce with the help of self-help groups in our area. But the procurement price for certain produce was good, but other types of produces was quite low compared to what it is generally in the market. So people faced losses in that. Tendu is a big forest produce which is collected during this season. All across Chhattisgarh, annually around 350 crores rupees of Tendu is procured. So that much money goes into the pockets of the people. This year the figure is around 150 crores. So that direct difference, right? So that much less money went in the pockets of the people. What we also observed is people started doing barter, right? So I have something in excess, I will exchange it with somebody else who has other thing in excess, like other thing available, which is a beautiful way of coping up, in such a certain kind of a situation. But then what also we found out is certain local traders who were able to penetrate in the villages started taking benefit of that. And where otherwise a particular forest produce would be sold at a pretty higher price, they were able to trade it off with a much lower aloo, pyaj, and other things that people were villagers were interested in buying. So these kind of challenges have been there in the villages. An enterprise like Bhumgadi, I'm sure there would be many in the country, right? It is one where we do a bulk transport, which was allowed by the government, like transport in big trucks or something like that, pickups. But many of the enterprises do not have that high quantity of transportation to do. They want to sell 1 ton of produce somewhere else, 5 quintals of produce somewhere else. That kind of a transportation is done with other goods which are being transported. And because other goods were stopped, we also were not able to sell our food, which was actually allowed legally. And because of that, our supply chain got completely disrupted. And during lockdown, we were hardly able to sell our products. And I'm sure many of the farmers entities based in remote areas would have faced that kind of situation.
Thanks, Akash. Okay, let me ask one question to all of you, which which you don't know anything about because there is no real-time data. Two things that two aspects that I want to raise. One is that farmers very often in our country are not just farmers, particularly in a farming household. They do multiple things. They also work in some other farm in NREGA, in some other sector, in construction, collecting forest produce and so on and so forth. When Vijay was speaking, he spoke about livestock, livestock and rearing and poultry and so on. So this is my second question, or it's a two-part question. Let's discuss this. One, I want to ask, were other sources of income affected? And second that I want to ask is, were they compensated or were they adequately compensated by, let's say, a scheme like PM Kisan or a transfer of 500 rupees? So did it reach on time? And क्या ये compensate कर पाया खेती में जो नुकसान हुआ और खेती के साथ साथ बाकी चीजें जो किसान करते हैं उसमें क्या असर पड़ा और जो measures लिए गए क्या वो सही समय पर लोगों तक पहुंच पाए? So can we start with Vijay and then we'll come to Archana and
जो भी मेजर लिए गए पीएम विकास निधि या इस तरह का, तो उसमें 500 रुपया और ये इस तरह का ये अकाउंट में आया और यहाँ के बहुत सारे किसानों के अकाउंट में वो पैसे आए, तो वो ऑब्वियसली काफ़ी मदद किया, लेकिन ये अमाउंट काफ़ी छोटा था और ये लॉकडाउन हर 20 दिन के बाद लगातार बढ़ता जा रहा था, तो ये माने मुश्किल भी हुआ लोगों को। एक भ्रम लोगों के बीच में इसको लेकर के ये फैला कि अगर आप पैसे नहीं निकालेंगे अकाउंट से तो ये वापिस चले जाएंगे। अब उसके लिए 50 किलोमीटर 40 किलोमीटर दूर से लोग आ रहे हैं, बैंकों में भीड़ लग रही है। कोरोना एक ऐसे ही एक दूसरा रूप ले रहा है, लोग एक दूसरे से डर भी रहे हैं, तब भी भीड़ लगी हुई है, उसको रोकने के लिए भी पुलिस फोर्स लगानी पड़ रही है। 2 किलोमीटर लंबी बैंक के आगे में लाइन लगी हुई है। इस तरह की समस्या ये आई। ये छोटे छोटे जो जैसा आकाश भी ये बोल रहे हैं, बहुत छोटे जो फार्मर होते हैं उनकी निर्भरता ज्यादातर छोटे छोटे हाटों पे होती है और वो अपना कुछ सामान ला करके हाट में बेचते हैं और बाकी का डेली के काम को करते हैं। अब चूंकि मार्केट पूरा ये बंद है और मार्केट लग नहीं रहा है, तो वो अपने प्रोड्यूस को बेचने के लिए भी काफी उनको मुश्किल हुआ। वैसी स्थिति में उनके पास में पैसे की कमी ऑब्वियस है। लेकिन एक सरकार का एक अच्छा ये रहा है कि ज्यादातर लोगों को राशन के रूप में चावल दाल उपलब्ध कराया, तो खाने की दिक्कत गाँव में इस तरह की नहीं हुई। लेकिन अगर फार्मर की बात करेंगे तो अब तरबूज की रेट यहाँ जैसा अर्चना भी बोल रहे हैं, ये मार्केट है, ये प्रोड्यूस अवेलेबल है, कंज्यूमर है, बट उसको ले जाने वाला नहीं है। तो ये फार्म गेट में तरबूज की कीमत 2 रुपये किलो इस तरह का 2.5 रुपये किलो हो गई और बहुत सारे ये वाटरमेलन है जो खराब हो गए, मैंने उनको ले जाने के लिए कोई ये तैयार नहीं हुआ। जहाँ तक ये गोट ये पोल्ट्री ये सब का ये बात कर रहे हैं, तो ये सब के ऊपर में भी काफी प्रभाव रहा। एक सूचना फैली इस तरह की पोल्ट्री खाने से भी कोरोना फैल रहा है। तो पोल्ट्री खरीदने माने पोल्ट्री बर्ड खरीदने के लिए लोग मुश्किल में पड़ गए, लोग खरीद नहीं रहे हैं, उसकी कीमत कम हो गई। हाँ, गोट को लेकर के थोड़ा अच्छा रहा कि उसके ऊपर में कुछ ये नहीं आया कि गोट खाने से भी कोरोना में इफेक्ट हो रहा है, तो वो उसका रेट थोड़ा बढ़ा है, उन्हें उस तरह से ये हुआ है, तो उसमें कुछ फायदा हुआ है लोगों को, इस तरह का है।
Archana, non-crop challenges in Tamil Nadu.
What challenges? Come again?
Non-crop, basically crop is one aspect of farming, but other aspects of farmers' life. And was the relief adequate? Did it reach on time? What role did it play? So on.
Okay, so for us, we also have farmers do free-range poultry. So we definitely saw that it was a savior for a lot of them. So for some of our farmers who actually made better money from their eggs more than the crops, and we also encourage some of the farmers to make value-added products. So rather than the usual herbs, we may ask them to work on different products which are ready to use. So the farmers spend more time doing other stuff, and some of them were working or doing parallelly to other jobs. Everything took a hit. So some of them, for them, suddenly farming was their only livelihood option because that was the only essential that could happen during a lockdown. So we try to actually compensate as much as possible. And the government schemes, there are for the small farmers. The people in the village are still not aware of all the schemes yet. And what right now Tamil Nadu government announced, they really know that every family would get 5,000 per family. So all these schemes that are locally announced, people are just waiting for the ration shops to open and get those schemes. So they aren't looking at subsidies for their urea or subsidies for. So all that is there, but people anyhow believe that there's going to be some more bigger relief coming from the government. We still hope they're not aware of the Prime Minister's schemes and all of that, but more than the central government scheme, people believe that there is going to be a big subsidy in their loans. So they doubt the execution. We are all happy that a lot of announcements, a lot of good things are being announced and everything is nice. I hope they get implemented as well. So people are skeptical about the implementation. That's the blatant truth. But people are willing to. So as farmers, they know that tough times. They've seen tougher times before. So we've been just helping sure their motivation levels don't go down. So we've been telling them that people. So food is definitely not going to go out of need. So a lot of businesses, if you look at it, they are definitely pivoting and becoming a different business altogether. The need for it has changed. But we've been telling people that people are starting to realize the importance of it. So the motivation level, more than the crop now, it's about their motivation level and telling them that locally they can drive this. So it's building the sustainable villages back to our ideology, right? So keeping a motivation is the biggest challenge.
Okay. Akash?
Yeah, so apart from agriculture, as I was saying, forest produce is another big source of income. So that had a good amount of effect. But good effort was in Dantewada, the forest department worked very proactively. In fact, most of the forest produce trade is dominated by traders, and many of the times it becomes exploitative, or the collectors do not get proper return. So this was an effort to actually bypass this route and find out ways how can we pay better to the collectors. So forest department took a good initiative, and self-help groups got involved in that. In the process, they learned a lot of things about trading and procurement of forest produce. So whooping around 11,000 quintals of tamarind and other kinds of produce was procured with the help of forest department, which was a much relief to the local communities, I think, because there was no other source, no other means of selling their produce. So that helped. Another thing is Chhattisgarh made a good amount of effort to follow Narega and revive it and give as much wages as possible to the people. Quickly, a lot of works were sanctioned in our district, for carrying out various kinds of land development and water harvesting structures through NREGA. And I'm sure that would have helped to some extent to people. Other support that was provided by government was through ration and other things. So another impact I feel is most of the families, the migration out of Dantewada is not much, but there is in every village you will find at least 50, 60, 100 from families, people moving out and working. Them coming back to Dantewada became quite possible. So anywhere else, if you would have seen migrant workers walking, people like that walk down to their villages through jungles and all of that, and then somehow they reach their villages. So these kind of challenges they faced in Dantewada.
Okay, so I think one thing that has come out from all three different contexts is that food became very important. I think public provisioning of food became very important. That is one thing that we can immediately get from this discussion. And secondly, even well-meaning schemes such as cash transfers might be less effective if bank intensity is less, as Vijay was pointing out. There are some important policy lessons also here. Okay, let's go to the next round. Let me ask you let me ask you to pinpoint. I mean, all of you are working on the ground and working for many, many years. And as Archana was saying, farmers have seen lows before. So it's not the first time that problems are coming. But, this is a peculiar moment for not just us, entire world, and farmers are definitely, also suffering. Can you highlight or, can you speak of one or, one particular instance or a heartwarming story that you came across? Or do you want to highlight one particular experience that, came across that you would like to share with us amidst all the chaos that is happening? Is there something that stood out for you? विजय जी, आपसे शुरू करें कि ऐसा कोई एक खास चीज जो आप शेयर करना है. आई एम श्योर बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें होंगी, मगर कोई एक चीज जो आपको लगे कि ये बताना बहुत जरूरी है.
ये काफी मुश्किलें रही है इन दिनों में कोविड-19 को लेकर के, और बहुत सारे माइग्रेंट्स लगातार लौट रहे हैं, गांव की तरफ में आ रहे हैं. और हम लोग जिस रास्ते में हैं उस रास्ते में भी बहुत सारे लोग लौट रहे हैं. सो जैसा कि मैं पहले भी बोल चुका हूं कि यहाँ वाटरमेलन का बड़ा ये एरिया रहा है, काफी सारे फार्मर्स ने ये किए हैं. एक दिन हम लोग कुछ माइग्रेंट्स को फूड को लेकर के मदद कर रहे थे, उनको फूड प्रोवाइड कर रहे थे. उसी समय एक फार्मर आकर के अपना वाटरमेलन साथ में लाया है और ये बोल रहा है, भैया अगर आप लोग बांट रहे हैं तो इसको भी प्लीज ये उन लोगों को दीजिए. हम अपने खेत से लेकर के इसको आए हैं और जो लोग इस रास्ते से जा रहे हैं मैं उनको देना चाहता हूं, लेकिन मैं किसको दूं ये मुश्किल हो रहा है मुझे. और मैं किसान हूं, मेरे लिए तो कोई गाड़ी भी नहीं रोक रहा है और मैं अपना प्रोड्यूस को सेल भी नहीं कर पा रहा हूं. तो लेकिन मैं चाहता हूं कि जो लोग भी मुश्किल में हैं और बाहर से लौट रहे हैं उनको ये मिले. तो ये काफी ये मोमेंट था कि किसान भी ये सोच रहा है कि जो लोग मुश्किल में है उसको भी ये दिया जाए. दूसरा, बहुत सारे फार्मर्स का ये जो प्रोड्यूस ले करके आ रहे हैं और बाजारों तक आ रहे हैं और वापस जाते समय अगर उनका प्रोड्यूस कुछ नहीं बेच पाए हैं, उसी प्रोड्यूस को बेच करके वो चावल खरीदेंगे और इस तरह का ये करेंगे. तो वो काफी हार्ट ब्रेकिंग मोमेंट था. मैं जब फार्मर से पूछ रहा हूँ कि क्यों वापस लौट रहे हैं 11 बजे और अपना सारा 2 बैग साइकिल में लटकाए हुए इस तरह से जा रहे हैं, तो भैया हम नहीं बेच पाए तो इसका कुछ दिक्कत होगा क्या आपको? तो हाँ भैया, हम लोग आज कुछ चावल खरीदना चाहते थे जो नहीं खरीद पाएंगे. तो चूंकि हम लोग काफी कोविड रिलीफ ये में लगे हैं और काफी सारे लोगों को मदद किए हैं, तो उस समय उनकी भी मदद कर पाए हम लोग. लेकिन ये हार्ट ब्रेकिंग मोमेंट था. मैंने कुछ लोगों का हम मदद कर सकते हैं, बट जो हमारे नज़र में नहीं आ रहे हैं उनका मदद कैसे करके ये हो. तो इसके लिए हम लोगों ने कम्युनिटी सर्विलांस शुरू किया था पूरे जहां हम काम कर रहे हैं खूंटी जिला में सभी ब्लॉक में। और वहां से ये जो हमारे कम्युनिटी कैडर हैं या जो भी वहां से मुखिया हैं, वार्ड मेंबर हैं, उनके द्वारा अगर कुछ ऐसे लोग आइडेंटिफाई होते हैं जिनको किसी तरह से खाने की दिक्कत हो रही है या राशन नहीं है, सरकार की तरफ से भी मदद नहीं पहुंच रहा है, तो उनकी मदद हम लोग लगातार करते आए हैं। सो इस तरह का हम लोगों का ये रहा है।
Archana, anything stands out for you amongst so much misery that is around you? Think there is some story that some particular story?
So whatever happened, I kept sharing on social media. So that was the only channel for us. So it is our own channel, no money to be paid anywhere. So one big incident what happened at the start was people we were literally harassed everywhere. Getting the e-pass on the road was a challenge. But there was one instance where one of our farmers, while bringing his vegetables on his two-wheeler, he was blocked by the police and questioned. He did claim that he's a farmer, but nobody believed. Today, farmers are believed to be old, believed to have a sad face. And this guy is about 29-year-old and he carries vegetables and he's blocked by the police. He tells the police that he wants to come take this to the nearest hub, and they don't believe him. They say, and he's made to wait for 2.5 hours. Finally, after again, there's a DIG coming, and then there is a problem. And finally, this angry young man, he said, "What do I do with this produce?" The police casually said, "Throw it on the road." He literally threw it on the road, and somebody filmed the whole thing on a camera, mobile, and the angry farmer literally was throwing all the lady's finger brinjals on the road, and it was a very sad sight to see. The video just was shared with me, and I couldn't do anything. So, and all that I could do was I could get into the right officials and see that more people like this do not get harassed. Just a day before, my teammate was beaten up by the police. Again, he's a 23-year-old guy. So, young farmers were just young people were not even taken seriously. I was happy the police are following rules, but then these farmers need the produce to be taken to the city, right? So I didn't keep quiet then. So I posted the video on Facebook and then said, if this is the state, I can't imagine the lakhs of farmers in different other cities undergoing the same problem. This could be just 25-30 kgs of vegetables, but this is all someone's hard work for months together. So this video then was shared by more than 495 shares. So the power of network was seen. A lot of my friends came tagging all the higher officials they knew. So it went to the police higher officials, it went to the agricultural secretary, it went to 2 or 3 IAS officers, and everybody started probing this. It might seem a small thing, but after probing, the next day, the regulations were changed. So they started saying the farmers should be just questioned, and if they have produce, just let them go. If they follow, because this guy was already wearing a mask, he was having a sanitizer as well. What more can he do? Okay, so quickly after 495 shares and so many reach on Facebook and Insta, then the change happened. For this particular person, he was taken to the police station and beaten up also. So after this, because he irritated the police, so everything was spoken about openly, and in just 12 hours, the local police head went to his home, gave him some rice and ration, and phased out the situation. But I was happy with that the regulations were changed. So next day after, there was more legal proof that farmers are allowed to take their produce. So a small logistics from one village to another village was sorted. Okay, so and this also impacted the consumerism. So now people were also understanding that there's a lot of challenge. So when we were distributing our vegetables to families, if they did not get a particular vegetable, they always used to get frustrated. Now they know getting vegetables itself is a big thing. So they started understanding what vegetables are available, and they planned their menu accordingly. So the real struggle behind the vegetable from the farmer's labor to reaching the consumer was now people were able to visualize this. During the lockdown, I think many people even understood why the prices of onion is going high, why the prices of tomato is going high. So this particular farmer's incident made people look at us in a little different way. And then I was also seeing that more people were willing to buy directly from the farmer. So they also wanted to see that the farmer is not struggling. So anyhow, I'm going to buy this from somebody else. Why not I buy from somebody I know? So we were always promoting this of saying buy from your local farmer. So I did see more people asking for contacts of people they know very. So similarly, another social media campaign helped push a lot of watermelons and muskmelons from a local farmer. So because I was promoting organic, I did not take other farmers, but we leveraged on our networks, reach out to apartment communities, made people make better choices, plan ahead of time, group together and make orders and all of that. So I did see that people were more sensitive. So, but it needed more content that people had to take it in the way they like it. So I think awareness and the importance definitely, and the farmer as such needs this voice. Farmers there always been this disconnect between the urban consumer and the farmer. So I've been trying to be that person who voices for the farmers there. So a lot of friends did give me the support. So I'm thankful for the people around me. People like Ashish know that. So I think this is the time for us to keep talking about the stories behind. Being humble doesn't help anymore. We need to tell this problem loud.
Interesting. Akash, one particular story that you would want to share with us?
Right. So rather than one particular story, I think I would like to put forward a kind of a scenario. So once we were having a discussion with some of the community workers that we work with, and of course, in this duration there have been a lot of challenges as well, right? But then a region like Bastar kind of has a habit of living in isolation with the surrounding world, right? So in a way, it has the habit of facing lockdowns, right? So when I asked him how it has been, so his point of कि ज़्यादा कुछ ऐसा लगा नहीं, ज़्यादा कुछ ऐसा फर्क नहीं पड़ा ऐसा. So and so that is also actually beauty of areas like Bastar, where it used to be said that यहाँ के लोग जो है वो नमक और कपड़ा छोड़ के बाकी सब चीजों में सेल्फ रिलायंट है. बाकी सब चीजों की उनको जो भी जरूरत है वो आजू बाजू के नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज से पूरी हो जाती है. And this became much more evident in times like these, where entire world is running around facing so many difficulties, issues, and all of that. Here is a community where not as much as self-reliant it used to be, still to great extent it is. Like यहाँ के जो किसान हैं उनकी खेती में बहुत सारी चीजें वो उगाएंगे जो पहले खाना पसंद करेंगे. So their farming is still based on the food that they eat and not for the market, that they want to sell their produce to, or even many other needs to satisfy them. You don't really need much money, but a vibrant forest or natural ecosystem around, which is still there in Bastar and regions like this. And that kind of a strength I got underlined in this kind of a scenario, and the importance of it, which I think all of us should learn, I believe.
Okay, so again, fascinating discussion, very interesting stories from 3 different parts of the country. Let's take some audience questions now, and there are a lot of them. So I have to request you to try to keep it brief, and we'll take as many questions. So the first question, let's start with Vijay. Vijay ji, आपके लिए सवाल है कि आपके डिस्कशन से ये सामने आया कि lack of information या गलत इंफॉर्मेशन, मिस इंफॉर्मेशन, रूमर मॉन्गरिंग, ये एक मेजर प्रॉब्लम रहा कहीं ना कहीं. इट वाज मेजर प्रॉब्लम. तो आप और आपके जैसे आपके साथी वहाँ जो काम करते हैं, तो आप किस तरीके से वहाँ अवेयरनेस बिल्डिंग का काम करते हैं, या आप किस तरीके से इन सब चीजों से किसानों को बचाने में आप लोगों का अप्रोच क्या होता है?
अगर मैं ये कुछ रूमर्स की बात करूं तो ये जो प्रधानमंत्री कोष से जो पैसे खातों में डाले गए उसके लिए बहुत भीड़ लग रही थी। और लोगों के बीच में ये को अवेयर करने का हम लोग कोशिश ये कर रहे थे कि आप पैसे जो CSP सेंटर है वहाँ से भी निकाल सकते हैं, और जो गांव में भी बैंकिंग ये कोरेस्पोंडेंट हैं उनके द्वारा भी आप पैसे ले सकते हैं। तो इस तरह से ये सब अवेयरनेस के बाद में लोग ये शहर तक कम आने लगे और गांव में ही पैसे को निकालना शुरू किए। तो ये एक तरह का ये अवेयरनेस था। दूसरा, हम लोग ये कोविड को लेकर के जो सर्विलेंस शुरू किए थे, कम्युनिटी सर्विलेंस, वो उनका काम ये था कि गांव में जितने भी लोग हैं उनको एक तो कोविड को लेकर के अवेयर करेंगे। दूसरा, लगातार अगर किसी भी तरह की कोई ये रूमर्स हैं उसको लेकर के तुरंत रियलिटी चेक करेंगे, क्योंकि इसमें सबसे बड़ा ये यही था कि कुछ लोग बाहर से आ रहे हैं तो वो हमारे गांव को थोड़ा परेशान करने के हिसाब से आ रहे हैं, हमारे गांव में कोरोना फैलाने के लिए आ रहे हैं। तो उसको लेकर के भी तुरंत सूचना दी जाए और तुरंत ही प्रशासन को सूचित किया जाए ताकि किसी तरह की मिसहैपनिंग ना हो। इस तरह का अवेयरनेस हम लोग ये किए। जो भी लोग आ रहे हैं बाहर से उनको आइसोलेशन में रखना है। गांव में अगर आ रहे हैं तो उनको गवर्नमेंट को सूचित करना है और गवर्नमेंट क्वारंटाइन या इस तरह का ये में रखना है। इस तरह का अवेयरनेस के लिए हम लोग किए। और पूरे ही एरिया में हम लोगों ने माइकिंग करवाई कि जो भी नरेगा को लेकर के प्रोविजन है, ट्रांसपोर्ट को लेकर के प्रोविजन है, उसको लेकर के पूरे गांव में माइकिंग कराई। किसानों के लिए ये ट्रांसपोर्ट का जो दिक्कत हो रहा था उसके लिए डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के साथ में मिल करके उनको पास दिलाना, डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन द्वारा व्यापारियों के साथ में संपर्क करके उनके प्रोड्यूस को मार्केट तक पहुंचाना, ये सब तरह का जो ये है। तो वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के साथ में फार्मर को लिंक करना, उनको पासेस दिलवाने में मदद करना, इस तरह का अवेयरनेस लगातार हम लोगों ने इस एरिया में किया है। तीसरा ये है कि जो माइग्रेंट लौट रहे हैं और जो गांव में भी हैं, चूंकि ये लॉकडाउन काफी लंबा चला है और पैसे की काफी दिक्कत हुई है, तो झारखंड में मुख्यमंत्री ने 2-3 योजनाओं की घोषणा की है। एक है बिरसा हरित ग्राम योजना, फिर ये घोषणा की है नीलांबर पीतांबर जल समृद्धि योजना, एक और की है वीर शहीद पोटो हो खेल विकास योजना। ये सारी योजनाएं गाँव में चलेगी और इसके लिए हर दिन वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग के द्वारा हर जिला से ये रिपोर्ट लिया जा रहा है और इसमें गवर्नमेंट काफी अच्छा काम कर रही है। तो ये है कि खरीफ वर्षा आने से पहले, खरीफ आने से पहले अगर किसान कुछ खेतों में काम करके अपने लिए मेड़ बना करके अपने लिए आम बागान लगा करके अगर कुछ कमा पाते हैं तो उनको एक तो पैसे भी मिल जाएंगे, आम बागान भी उनका होगा और आने वाले समय में उससे भी वो लाभ ले पाएंगे। तो इसको लेकर के भी अवेयर करना, ग्राम सभा में ये करना। ग्राम सभा हमारे एरिया में एक यूनिकनेस है कि जो ट्राइबल लोग हैं, मुंडा ट्राइब हैं इधर के, हर सप्ताह अपने गांव में ग्राम सभा करते हैं। जो छोटी छोटी समस्याएं हैं उसको लेकर के बैठते हैं एवरी वीक। तो उसमें थोड़ा दूर में लोग बैठे हैं, एक साथ में बहुत सारे लोग नहीं बैठे हैं। तो इस तरह का अवेयरनेस के लिए भी हम लोग लगातार ये कर रहे हैं। तो उनके ग्राम सभा में जाना, कोविड को लेकर के बताना, नरेगा को लेकर के बताना, गवर्नमेंट के प्रोविजन को लेकर के बताना, इस तरह का ये काम हम लोग करते आए हैं।
Archana, for you there is a question from Kumar. Kumar is asking, could you explain the model of how your organization, and you, how do you connect farmers to the consumers and the urban consumers? So what is the model?
Okay, so we work with farmers. So on one side we have farmers as a cluster. So we onboard them and we guide them. So most of them are using chemicals before. So we have a plan to like a 5 or 6 month plan where they grow and then start growing organically. So each of them follows a multi-crop model, and we make sure they have easy crops like beans, spinach, and also 4 or 5 other vegetables. So idea is every week there should be some harvest. It's not like one crop they sow and they wait for 4 months to start getting their investment. So we look at farmers earning throughout the year. So at least 9 months in a year, they should be getting some revenue from a different source. And for the consumer, we have structured a subscription-based model. So it's more like a community-supported agriculture. So where every farm that a farmer created is actually a community farm. So this farmer is going for a group of families. Okay. So there is a family in Chennai, say Ajay. Ajay and family comes on board to My Harvest Farms, signs up for a minimum subscription of 1 month, and during this period, every consumer chooses a list of vegetables that they like. It's like a preference list. Okay, we have about 65 varieties, and they choose maybe 22, 23, and every week we send them a bag of vegetables from our farm. So, and these Ajay and his family can visit our farm anytime. So we don't tell them. Our farmers are small farmers. We don't expect them to have organic certification and all of that, and we don't believe in that. We believe that the consumer should know the farmer, so they can even visit the farm. It's more like the produce is we don't. Our grading is also not on the look and feel of the vegetable. The consumer purely understands that they're going to get seasonal vegetables and all of that. So every week, depending on their location, like if they are in a particular place like Mylapore, every Tuesday they get vegetables from delivered on to them, and they then keep renewing their subscription. So our families are it's a prepaid model. So that was how we were operating till the lockdown. But now because of the lockdown, we understand there are more people staying at home, more meals being cooked. So we have made it like an order system, and also logistics is preventing some of the vegetables from reaching us from the farmers. So we right now send them order forms. So the consumer orders them 2 days ahead, and we deliver it to them. But if you look at the farm to fork, farm to table, the farmer harvests the previous night or that morning. So we get it around 10 in the morning. 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock we package. Around 1 o'clock the vehicles move from our place. So the food doesn't travel a longer distance or doesn't go through multiple hands. So the grading happens on the farm level as well as at our place, and we make sure the consumer is pretty much aware. So the payment is done earlier. It's more like a wallet there. So the family also, whenever they're traveling, they let us know and we don't deliver them. So they all know that the food is coming from Tiruvallur. They know that people sometimes doubt cauliflowers are not organic. So they ask us questions like, where is it coming from? It's not nice. They ask us why. So the idea is to give them as fresh as possible. So at least the spinach varieties, things that they get in the market today are not reliable. So people usually, majority of our consumers are families with children.
Yeah.
Families with younger kids. So they come on board saying, I miss this. I grew up eating fresh vegetables from my village. So now I want to also visit the farm and then take the decision. So we have a lot of families visiting the farm and then signing up as well. So we definitely want them to know that organic is real.
Akash, the question for you is, again, it's specific to your context. The question is, there are Adivasi farmers where you work, and of course there is a dynamics of the market, and there is a power dynamics as well. So how do Adivasi farmers, are they able to negotiate the market dynamics? Do they sell their produce mostly to the government or to the local traders, and how do they negotiate through this entire system?
I don't think there is any much scope of negotiation to the farmers, basically, because the market system is hardly developed in our region. So as I said, these kind of negotiations generally work in mandis, right? And mandi is dysfunctional in our areas. So again, because of the remoteness, because the volumes are not that much, so mandis are not functioning. In local hard bazaars, what happens is it's all kind of a here and there. There are a lot of traders standing, and the farmers can choose to go and sell his or her produce to any trader that they want to sell their produce. And these volumes are very small, 5 kilos, 10 kilos, like that, right? And generally it happens for non-perishable products like forest produce or paddy or other things. a lot of times, a lot of harassment of the farmers happens with by the traders. In fact, as bad as snatching the produce from the farmer and then directly putting it in the entire pile. So the farmer has to take whatever pay that the trader is giving. So I don't think there is much kind of a negotiation, bargaining power that the farmers have. Another source, another platform that they sell their produce is to the government. So paddy, many of the farmers sell to the government, and then there is a MSP which the government pays. So that is why what we are trying to do is how do we collectivize farmers? Because even amongst the local markets, in front of the traders, or if the mandi system is dysfunctional, how can a single farmer who has a very small quantity of produce and no means of logistics, if he is walking 20 kilometers or coming by cycle, many of the farmers carry their produce on their shoulders. So there is it's called as kavad in Hindi. So you have a bamboo pole on your shoulder, and two sides there are bamboo crates hanging around, and then there is a produce. So if someone like that is coming and traveling 20 kilometers in local Haat Bazaar, he has to sell whatever produce that he has got along with him. So that is why what we are trying to do is how do we collectivize the farmers, and so that they have some kind of a scale and some kind of a collective strength with which they will be able to bargain in the market.
Okay, so now I have there are a few more questions, but I really have to request you to be very brief so that we can take as many questions as possible. With that request, let me ask you one sort of big picture question. What do you think, if you have to list, I'm sure there are so many challenges, but if you have to list 3 major challenges facing the Indian farmers today, and we'll come to the solutions next. बट अगर कहा जाए कि क्या समस्याएं हैं, मेन मुख्य समस्याएं किसानों की, इज इट इरिगेशन, क्रेडिट, मंडीज, सो इट माइट डिपेंड ऑन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट दैट यू आर इन, मगर अगर कहा जाए कि वो क्या 3 या 4 या 2 मुख्य समस्याएं हैं आपके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में किसानों की, खेती की, तो वो आप क्या चिन्हित करेंगे? व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस दैट यू विल हाईलाइट फ्रॉम योर रीजन्स? शैल वी स्टार्ट विद विजय? विल यू लाइक टू क्विकली लिस्ट 2-3 मेजर चैलेंजेस?
तो अगर मैं आप यहाँ झारखंड के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बोलूँगा तो ये चूंकि रेनफेड एरिया है और मेजरली एक क्रॉप ही ले पाते हैं किसान, सो इरिगेशन इज बिग चैलेंज फॉर दिस एरिया. सेकेंड, प्रोड्यूस हैं उनको अच्छा कीमत नहीं मिल पाता है, और आज के समय में इंडस्ट्री के जैसा तो प्रोड्यूस ये नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन फार्मर को प्रोड्यूस का अच्छा कीमत मिले, ये एक बड़ा चैलेंज है ये के लिए, किसानों के लिए. मार्केट का चैलेंज मैं बोल सकते हैं, मार्केट का एक ये है. और तीसरा ये है कि बहुत जो छोटे स्मॉल फार्मर हैं वो फाइनेंशियली काफी स्ट्रांग नहीं है, मैंने ये मुश्किल है उनको बड़े स्तर में जा करके खेती करना. उनके पास जमीन है बट इरिगेशन नहीं है, फाइनेंस नहीं है, तो एक फाइनेंस भी एक है जो एक बड़ा चैलेंज है किसानों के लिए.
Interesting. Archana, will you highlight some important challenges in your context?
So obviously finance is a challenge, like Vijay mentioned. So what I really see is farmers, the finance, as in when we went out and said a small fence is needed, even like investing 2,000, 3,000 is a big thing. So while also setting up the poultry farm, we wanted to give them the initial support to set up the shed and all of that. So finance is a big struggle. If there is something that eases out, it's nice. Also irrigation and the water. So last year the rains were bad. This year it was supposed to be okay, but again COVID spoiled it. So we clearly have that is a challenge. And lastly, I would say the challenge is the last mile. So reaching the consumer, I think more people are now coming to bring the market linkage. But for a lot of them who do not know anything beyond their village, I think that's another big problem. So they only grow what people are already taking. So what to grow, the answer to what to grow is usually what everybody else is growing. So I think that is also not giving it the right lead. So, three things.
Akash?
Right. So in our case, I think one of the biggest challenge is logistics and market linkage. I have talked recently on this. Then another challenge is I feel, the soil and water, current state of soil and water is a challenge, I feel. Just to explain a bit on that is, as Vijayji said, most of the farmers in our areas as well are rain-fed farmers. So erratic weather behavior we have observed from last 2 years has been quite a lot, and the farmers are suffering because of that. And when there is excess of rain, huge amount of soil loss, soil erosion and destruction of farmlands we have seen happening. And when there is no rains, farmers have been forced to graze their cattle in the farms. That is something we have seen. So erratic weather and loss of soil and lack of availability of water is something, another challenge that I would like to put forward as. And third, I would put forward is hardly anybody is talking about in our region is lack of means of farming. Meaning, for farmer, how do you farm? You have your own labor. Population is very less dense here, so you don't have a lot of people. You have a lot of land, but you don't have a lot of people to work with. What we have seen is, on one side, there is a great amount of degradation of cattle population happening. Local bullocks and cows, degradation of their population, and nobody paying much attention in terms of government system. How do we take care of their health? And farmers say we get caught up in a cycle where we earn money, we spend 20,000-30,000 for a couple of bullocks, and then they die 2-3 years. Again, we earn money and we again spend. Alternative to that is machinery, tractors, which are very less. And again, it's a completely different ecosystem where then, once you lose all your cattle, then it's very difficult to farm. So I think these three main challenges I would like to enlist.
Okay, so that brings us to the next question. And the next question is the following. So all of you highlighted the major challenges. Of course, some of it are, some of it requires policy response. Irrigation, large-scale infrastructure, requires, long-term sustained investments from the, policymakers. But, there are a lot of well-meaning people, individuals, organizations, corporate heads in the audience today, and a larger public also, particularly because efforts such as Archana took on social media, people are becoming aware, people want to help. So if you are asked again, if you are asked to list some bullet points on how do well-meaning, you must be you're working among people, you must be facing difficulties in terms of lack of volunteers or resources or other challenges. So if well-meaning people want to intervene and help, both individuals, organizations, and the general public, how can people help you in your context? Can you list some things that might be helpful for you to spread your message or to make your good work even better? Vijay ji, आपसे शुरू करें.
So फार्मिंग सेक्टर में मैं एक बड़ा चैलेंज ये देख पाता हूँ कि किसान और कंज्यूमर के बीच में कोई संबंध नहीं है. कंज्यूमर है जो बहुत दूर है, किसान है जो बहुत दूर है, बीच में बहुत सारे रास्ते हैं, मिडिल मैन्स हैं और ये हैं. तो एक कोई ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म हो, जैसा अर्चना भी ये कर रही थी कि ये कंज्यूमर डायरेक्ट किसान के साथ में लिंक हो. सबको खाना चाहिए, सबको हर दिन फ्रूट्स चाहिए, हर दिन वेजिटेबल चाहिए. क्यों नहीं कुछ फार्मर को सेलेक्ट करके मैं आपसे ये इस तरह से लूंगा, आपका ही सामान ये करूंगा. तो एक जो ये बड़ा चैलेंज है, एक गैप है, इस तरह से इसको मीट किया जा सकता है. फाइनेंशियली बहुत सारे लोग मदद के लिए आगे आ रहे हैं, बहुत सारे कॉर्पोरेट ये हैं, वो कुछ किसानों के साथ में हम लोग इस तरह का भी ये सोच सकते हैं, एक जो कंज्यूमर है एक फार्मर को मदद करे इस तरह का, इस कोविड के बाद वाले सिचुएशन में, कि मैं एक फार्मर को मदद करूंगा, उनका जो भी इस साल का सीड फर्टिलाइजर का खर्चा है मैं उसको ये करूंगा और बाद में उनके सामान को बाई भी करूंगा अगर मार्केट रेट में. तो ये डायरेक्ट 1-to-1 ये हो सकता है। हमारे केस में चूंकि हम लोग लार्ज स्केल में ये कर रहे हैं, तो अगर कंज्यूमर डायरेक्ट किसान को कर सकते हैं, ये सरकार के साथ में पॉलिसी मेकिंग में हेल्प कर सकते हैं, किसानों को सीड फर्टिलाइजर सही समय में और उचित कीमत में मिल सके, इस तरह का ये हो सकता है। तीसरा एक ये है कि अभी फूड को बढ़ाने के ये में हम लोगों ने ये हाइब्रिड सीड्स के ऊपर में अपनी निर्भरता को बढ़ा लिया है, और ज़्यादातर फार्मर्स को देखेंगे वो हाइब्रिड सीड और इस तरह का ही इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। तो जैसा आकाश जी बोले कि बाजार नहीं भी ये खुला है तो हमको बहुत ज़्यादा परेशानी नहीं हुई है, इस तरह का ये अगर बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन अभी आने वाले खरीफ के मौसम में देखेंगे कि हमारे यहाँ लोगों के पास में सीड्स की काफ़ी कमी है, क्योंकि उन्होंने हाइब्रिड सीड लंबे समय से लगाया है, अब सीड्स है नहीं, और उनके पास में अभी पैसे भी नहीं है, ये इतना लॉकडाउन होने के बाद में। तो उनको किस तरह से कुछ मदद दे करके अगर उनको ये सीड्स और इस तरह का ये मदद किया जा सकता है, तो फार्मर आने वाले समय में अपने आप को ये सस्टेन कर पाएंगे और आगे भी ये होगा, नहीं तो ये इस समय उनके लिए बड़ा चैलेंज है।
Okay. Archana, what are your views? So two things have come out. One, how can, what are the policy level changes that you think might help? And secondly, what do you think can individuals, well-meaning individuals do, to intervene and make things better?
So as one, we need to start having a lot of like encouraging the farmers, communities that are around. So buying local. Okay, so there is somebody making peanut butter that I think we should pass the word around. I think we should start talking about more local brands. So that can help more people who are working with farmers reach out to more people. So I think if there is a person in an apartment buying and he speaks about it, there are another 10-20 families that will follow. Rather than, because we can't afford to put up ads and spend money on advertising. We always believe the same money could go in for the welfare of the farmer. So I think as urban consumers, we need to start being more vocal about the local brands that we are today using and the farmers that are behind it. And the second, again, a lot of them say that they have a soft corner for farming and they want to do it after retirement. I don't think people have to wait till retirement. Even now, they can start spending their weekends or volunteer or start associating with people. And they can't just going to a farm one day and posting is not going to make a difference. It's a very, very big long haul. Okay, so I'm just saying, start understanding the word of farming. So hear it out. So like when I was doing terrace garden earlier, 6 years back was when I understood how much effort it takes to bring food on my table. So I think more people in the city need to start thinking beyond just buying it from the supermarket and go visit, work with farmer communities. So I know quite a few who are actively working with livelihood development for farmers. So you can just volunteer your time there, or some of them can even help contribute to a lot of creating content. Today, a lot of things are getting lost. Traditional varieties of seeds are getting lost. A lot of things that we are actually on the ground know, but we don't have the time to document it. So most people who are in action, we don't have the time to document things. So it could be the stories of, it could be even basic things like recipes that are getting lost traditionally, or it could be bringing back how we stored our seeds, how we were actually doing farming. Because when we first went to the village, to gain the trust of the people, it took 2-3 years. But if there is somebody who's already done, because all that we're doing today is reviving the old farming methods. We're not innovating too much on the way people are doing farming. It's just bringing back the good old times. So I think now is the time to make a lot of those videos of prepare content and document things before the actual traditional things are getting lost. So having conversations help. So I grew up in the city and my parents never spoke about what they were farming as a child. Only 3 years before my dad told that he sold the last piece of land to build a house in Chennai. And I felt very bad. Okay, so his priorities were different. But now I don't want the same thing to happen in the city, in the village. It is more like reverse migration. Everybody is moving out of the village and doesn't want to do it. I think it's time to start recognizing the farmers we know, tell them that it's it's okay, frugal living and all that is okay, and engage in conversations. The rural divide has to, the distance has to come shorter, and we can definitely do it as a community. I know that Akash has influenced a lot of farmers in York, so I think we need to start discussing more successful models like what Akash has done, what Vijay has done. So across regions, we need to start talking more good things now, more conversations about the positive things that are happening around us.
Okay, Akash, what do people do to help? Akash, you're not audible.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess you're asking on two levels, right? Policy,
Yeah.
and then in our scenario case.
Both.
So policy, I think what we should right now immediately focus on is how do we, build villages, right? In terms of investing immediately, I think NREGA is a big scheme, which is primarily focusing on, we consider it as something which is providing wage employment to the people. But I think it's also a scheme under which a lot of types of works can be done, which can eventually give and strengthen livelihood of the communities. So I think immediately at policy level, we should not only focus on giving work to the people, but also what kind of work is being done. How can it be planned quickly and properly, so that based on whatever the work that is being done, how can the livelihood opportunities of the people are developed better in the villages, so that lesser number of people have to go out of the villages and in the cities. In fact, I was thinking, now that we are talking about self-reliant communities, self-reliant villages, self-reliance, why not, let's say, even if not at the village level, why not consider district as a unit and try to figure out what all this particular district requires? How can we produce most of those things with the involvement of farmers, SHGs, and other groups, and try to satisfy our needs inside the district with the producing units. So things like that, we have to start thinking towards how can we add as much as value in the produce at the village level or at the cluster levels, so that more people get employment in the villages itself, and there is better value derived. So I think there has to be a lot of policy focus, rather than policies like one product, one district, focusing completely on cash crops and big trade. I think what we should try to focus more on food-oriented self-consumption, self-reliance. I think seed is a big part that Vijay talked about. In our area, we don't have this kind of a worry because most of the farmers still are using indigenous seeds. So they are on their own. And I think a lot of government policies have for a very long time promoted external seeds. I think indigenous seeds and indigenous varieties is something policy at level we should really consider and promote in a big way. And I think even in our scenario, what we are trying to do is how do we develop all of this in a model where a farmer's enterprise is trying to do, right, on its own. And I think a lot of people can help us. How do we develop a better farmer's enterprise? Not all of knowledge is with us in terms of business, marketing, business models that we can develop. And I think a lot of people in terms of the knowledge, resources, and experience can help us out as to how do we develop a better and good working self-sustainable farmers enterprise owned by small and marginal and tribal farmers. I think people can come forward to help us in that sense. A lot of times donors or funders focus on infrastructure and not on building the capacity of the people and resources required for that. I think a lot of capacity building in terms of organic farming, it's not easy. Chemical farming is it's okay. You just go and buy things from shop and spray them and put them. But organic farming needs a lot of observation, understanding about the ecosystem, and we need to work and build capacity of the people. So we certainly need help from various people. How do we do that better? So I think good amount of support we can definitely have on these fronts.
Okay, we have had actually we have covered a lot of ground, and let me just quickly try to summarize it very briefly, and then we'll lastly we have 5 minutes left, and then we'll lastly go back to all of the panelists again. I think the major things that have emerged from today's discussion is, one, the supply chain were completely disrupted during the lockdown, and on the one hand, the harvest was ready, farmers could not could not take it to the market, and it was spoiled, and they did not get the returns. एक तो ये समस्या हुई कि 6 महीने 5 महीने का जो मेहनत जो फसल थी उनका उनको इनफ adequate दाम नहीं मिला पूरी तरीके से. That was one thing that came out very strongly. And again, depending upon the context, somewhere livestock helped, somewhere it could not help so much, somewhere forest produced helped. Lack of mandis, lack of infrastructure came out as a major problem. People have to, take their produce to the market without any sort of support, without any vehicles, irrigation, credit. I think all of these came out as a major challenge. And one interesting thing that I'm seeing from, 3 different regions of the world or country is the need to protect the interest of the farmers vis-a-vis, let's say, big, corporations such as, let's say, Monsanto. So, जो यहाँ बातें आ रही हैं कि indigenous seeds, local varieties. So that is one interesting thing that is coming out. That and that's an interesting challenge and an interesting dynamic. That we are an increasingly globalized world. Increasingly we are far more connected. ऐसे situation में कैसे हम how do we protect our small and marginal farmers or people who are engaging in collecting forest produce and selling it in the market. So that dynamics is very interesting. And how do we protect our farmers in the context of an increasingly globalized world and increasingly policies which are market oriented? How do we provide support to our farmers in that context? So many suggestions have come, and you can also see from the way you people are working, you are giving a model which needs to be studied in a much greater extent. हमने सिर्फ 1.5 hours we spent in discussing. Probably we could have spent a lot more, so that is probably the need to study different models and to see if that can be replicated in different parts of the country. So there are just 3 minutes left, and we probably have 1 minute for each panelist. So let us listen to you, and then we'll close today's discussion of the reality check. I think it has been a fantastic discussion. Probably there'll be, a lot more discussions on reality check, in the coming days. We'll have all those episodes. I'll request all the audience to, keep tuning in. But, lastly, if you want to say, something on what do you see, how do you see the future of agriculture in your context? And, what do you think? If next season is immediately coming. So what do you think is the future in this, the immediate future and the long-term future? The immediate challenge in Kharif season and the long-term future of agriculture from your context. Very briefly, almost 30-45 seconds each, and then we can conclude. I'm sorry for giving you so less time, but Vijay ji.
तो एक तो मुझे ये लग रहा है कि फार्मर को एक साथ में आना होगा. फार्मर कलेक्टिव इस तरह का एक मॉडल में ये जा सकते हैं. दूसरा ये है कि हम लोग को कुछ सस्टेनेबल मॉडल सोचना होगा, और जो ये इंडिजिनस सीड्स और जो ट्रेडिशनल सीड्स हैं उनको लेकर के ये करना होगा. इस तरह का ये है. चौथा ये है कि फार्मर को इस तरह का सिचुएशन में काफी.
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
रिसेबल वेजिटेबल इस तरह का. हाँ, अगर ऐसे सिचुएशन फिर से अगर आते हैं तो फार्मर को जो प्रोड्यूस है, जो लंबे समय तक वो स्टोर करके रख सकते हैं, वो सारे अगर प्रोड्यूस के ऊपर में फोकस करेंगे तो वो आगे आने वाले समय में उनको मदद करेगा.
Archana, the road ahead.
So I save time. Whatever Vijay said is actually more or less what I wanted to say. So long term, I think people are going to we're going to have a lot more collectives, and that's the way to go. So no more single farmer holding a lot of things. And I believe a lot more change is going to come in the way consumerism is going to happen. Even bigger brands are today saying the rice is 2 years old. So everybody's talking about details. So I think traditional seeds, the use of non-pesticide, every detailing in farming is now going to be discussed, and people are becoming more and more aware. Some of them may even be willing to take the extra effort to find out who's really doing right things. So I think the future, the consumer is going to be better informed. Farmer is, so everybody says farming is the future, and I hope farmers will also be celebrated, and the future is going to be clean.
Akash?
I think more than how it is going to be, trying to predict how it is going to be, I would like to underline few principles which we have been trying to follow, and I feel are very much applicable. And their applicability has been very evident in the current scenario, I feel. First is definitely self-reliance. Rather than understanding agriculture just as source of income, I think we should start with a ladder like food, nutrition, then income. So how do we build self-reliance in whatever that we do in farming? Secondly, I feel environmental sustainability. COVID is just a small virus, but I think there are much more bigger environmental issues which are coming in coming 10 years, I feel. So environmental sustainability is very much important, and we have to take care of that even in farming and whatever that we do. And third is social equity. I feel this crisis has made bare the inherent divides in the society that we have currently. And I think in farming, how do we ensure social equity? How do we ensure that the small and marginal and tribal and smallest of the farmers have an equity in whatever models and structures that we are building in, so that inherently the structure is so strong that even such kind of a scenario comes in, they are not just abandoned. So I think these three principles we should follow in building whatever models and solutions we are going to do in coming future.
Thank you. So, okay, with this, we are coming to an end of a fascinating discussion. Thank you all. This episode of Reality Check was very interesting. Thanks to all our panelists, our audience for questions. I hope, some questions are answered, some questions are raised, but it was a fascinating discussion. Stay tuned for more discussions. Thank you, all of you, to the panelists and to all our audience. And the next, you can see on the screens, the next topic is here. We hope all of you join again. Thanks a lot. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.